Ladies and gentlemen, our next panel discussion on the topic, changing fraud landscape in telecom space. I would like to invite our moderator on stage, someone who needs absolutely no introduction. Please give it up for Pallavi Kuttarkar from Globe Teleservices. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause. Our esteemed panelist, Alok Maurya from GTS Tech Labs. You're going to welcome them with an applause, please. Requesting you to be seated as per your names on screen. Vipul Arora from Orange. Janji Sena from TransUnion. Nilay Kumar from M-Filter IT. M-Filter It, sorry. Ali Zumkawala from Jio. Pallavi, over to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, my guest on the panel. So, I guess we are going to start a very hot topic of the town on A2P landscape, how we can protect it, and in terms of firewall, right? So, we have all of our guests here, and maybe I can ask them to have a quick introduction about themselves and their company, just a small, so that we can get more time on discussion.
Hi, good morning everybody. Thanks for this opportunity, MEF and GTS team. My name is Vipul. I work with Orange. We are MNO in 20 plus countries in Europe and Africa. I represent the wholesale division, which works on all the three lines of business, which is voice, mobile services, including messaging and data. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pallavi. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Nilay. I represent M-Filter, and we are part of 60 Technologies. We work with telecom operators. We work with brands, aggregators, partners, BFSI. We're pretty much agnostic to the industry. They're in almost 80 plus countries. So that's it.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Janji Sena. I'm with TransUnion. I met Alok today, and he was asking what TransUnion was doing at a place like this. You might know us here in India. We operate Civil here in India, but we are also, I actually came from a company called Newstar that was acquired by TransUnion. We operate the Pathfinder on behalf of the GSMA, so many of the messaging companies use that. We're also involved in many of the authentication standards for voice and the emerging aspects of just authenticating the different communications channels. Happy to be here.
Hi, I am Alok Maurya. I work for GTS Tech Labs as Product Innovation and Strategy Division. I work under the fraud landscape, so this is a topic very close to my day-to-day operations, and would love to have a nice discussion on it. Over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. This is Ali Zumkawala from Reliance Jio. I represent the wholesale division, and I head the global messaging for Reliance Jio. And in this profile, I get to interact with a lot of international aggregators, international enterprises, and a lot of telcos. And probably my idea will be to bring in those thoughts here and spell it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. So we all know that as per the Juniper research, A2P industry is going to be $78 billion by 2028, growing at the CAGR of 2.8%. And in our previous panel also, we heard from Sinj that they're selling trust, right? So here's the first question I would like to throw as MNO perspective to Vipul, how we can bring back that trust in A2P channel. Like what are the, maybe some regulations, pricing policies in that area. So what is your viewpoint as a MNO?
Okay, I think first thing is to set the record straight. I mean, I've been in the voice industry before messaging, and for 2 decades we've heard that the voice industry is dying. But you can see me still sitting here and I'm still alive. So we can very well imagine that voice industry is not dead. And so for people who are skeptical about SMS, it is the same. I mean, the bad news is, as per the surveys, they say that SMS A2P market, which is at around 92% today, would decline to 66% by 2028. The good news is, it is relative to the overall market sizing, but overall SMS market is still expected to grow. Pallavi, you already shared.
Pie is very big, yeah.
Exactly. So by 2028, it is expected to be $3.4 trillion market. So we are not looking to slow down on the SMS A2P space. But this will not happen by chance or on its own. What is needed is a lot of effort on a lot of grounds. One is the regulation part. I mean, Orange comes with the perspective of Europe. So of course, GDPR and TCPA, etc., they play a major role in regulating the market, the space, and they will have to continue doing it. We've seen phenomenal success which DLT as a platform has had in India, and that is something which is needed to continue to build the user trust. Which is a very, very important aspect of it. Second important aspect, which is important from a MNO perspective, is the pricing per se. You know, you cannot have your a golden egg laying hen, and you can't slaughter it one day. I mean, you have to keep it alive, and to do that, I think it's very important to keep the rates under check. We've seen MNOs thinking that there is no alternate to SMS A2P, and the rates have gone all over the place. I mean, you know, a year back, maybe we were talking about 10 cent as a benchmark. Today, we can talk about 15 and 20 cent as a benchmark. So every MEF forum, we see a different benchmark, which is only higher. And this is only leading us to a faster decline of the A2P traffic and a faster innovation on the other media, like WhatsApp for Business or even RCS, which would gain a bigger market share. We have to be conscious of it, and we have to have some amount of prudence in keeping the right rate. That is the second big aspect as an MNO, what we need to keep in mind. Last but not the least, I mean, since Orange is also on the firewall and the protection part, so the third important piece is the fraud protection and, you know, keeping the interest of the OTTs and enterprise in mind. So with these three aspects, I think we can be where the research shows, or maybe better, but it's important that we work across all the three domains, which are pricing, regulation, and of course, fraud protection.
And compliances.
And compliance is always.
Good. So A2P industry, I believe it's a circle of MNOs, enterprises, monetization partners, and the firewall providers. Because it's a mix of all these four, and we need these four players in the market to secure the A2P channel as most secure channel, to be honest. So coming back to the firewall protection, and as Alok is here from GTS Tech Lab, who has their own firewall. So what do you think that, from your point of view, how can you combat the frauds like voice over, OTP over voice, or the flash call, or the AIT, which is very high on the side? So how do you combat those frauds by providing your A2P firewall?
Yeah, that's a good question. So over the changing technological landscape and the ease that we try to introduce to communicate, the same ease sometimes get misused by the other part of the game players. But anyways, as these challenges are coming and originating from a different viewpoint, we try to tackle it a bit differently based on the origination of this kind of causes. So for example, you know, like for AIT per se, we target it by creating more transparency into the system. We provide open reports from our fraud management solution that can be accessible by the enterprises themselves, who are the originator of this traffic, and some way in between something happens and they are very skeptical. So next time maybe then Twitter, now X, CEO may not have a complaint about the operators directly that we are losing because of the operator. Let's have a transparent conversation. We give you the API, see what traffic we receive for your brand, and then you check with your partners where in between things are going bad. For flash call, same way. It's a very old technology. Wangiri was there for ages. everyone have evolved through the solution to target Wangiri with the same blend but a different mix. Flash call is used for a different purpose. So in the platform, we use the same learning from the past old legacy rule system and then combine it with the currently available system capability to handle AI ML. That means do customer profiling faster, do pattern recognition faster, and then try to sample out the fraudulent number series and try to block them out. For voice OTP, technology is fine. We have to go with the business process as well, because that is something where operators play a role. You know from which account this kind of traffic is coming, which have a very short duration of ASR. As a technology, we provide you the information, and operators have to go ahead and talk to the account or directly block the account to get more value. So somewhere technology and business go hand in hand.
So we have Ali and Vipul from voice background. As you said, that business processes has to change to combat the fraud over like OTP over voice. So do you think these kind of calls in your system very frequently now?
So Pallavi, this topic on fraud is extremely critical, very relevant today. You mentioned AIT. AIT of late, the kind of surge we have seen in this space is quite shocking actually, and that is one of the reasons why there is a huge trust deficit in the system. Like I mentioned, I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of enterprises, and one such enterprise during one of the discussions mentioned that their global telecom spend on messaging is about $1 billion. They said we see about 30% AIT. Now 30% is a phenomenally high figure, I mean, So what they've done is they have just simply cut down use cases. And while in India we don't see AIT as a huge issue as of now, at least that's what we believe. But because of the global change that they have done in their use cases, they've cut down use cases, so it's impacting all of us. If you see India inbound, ILD revenue, messaging, that's gone down.
Correct.
So that is really impacting. But I believe that, just to give you a perspective, I believe that it's not only the fraudster who's responsible here. Somewhere I blame the enterprises also and the telcos also, for this mess that we are in. I have received people who have come to me and who have said that, Ali, today you have got 100 messages coming in. I'll put my firewall. I'll ensure there's no gray routing that's happening. And I'll ensure that your messages go up to 130. Now, I know for a fact that the entire market itself is maybe 120 or 110. It's not going to go to 130. But, in times today when the revenues for all telcos are quite stressed, especially on the SMS side with new channels coming in, sometimes the telcos also get tempted and they, go with the highest bidder who's going to commit them the highest revenue. And finally, if that revenue doesn't exist, if that volume doesn't exist, then the guy is going to create artificial traffic. And the reason, if you give me a minute, I'll just, one of the reasons why I even say that the enterprises are to be blamed for some, to some extent is because we've had a lot of discussions with enterprises and we tell them that today you're dealing with XX, players and you're having a problem, you're saying there is AIT, why don't you give it to us directly or go with some trusted partners, right? Yeah. You'll have to select your partners well. What they do is they go with the lowest bidder. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They just go with somebody and they keep looking at us as per cost, per unit cost. I tell them, why don't you look at the overall outflow that you will spend over a period of time? And that will, if your AIT is reduced by going direct with trusted aggregators or with, telcos directly, then you will see that, your revenue outflow, your cash outflow will reduce.
Yeah, to add to on this point, basically even telcos are looking for revenue commitments, right? The higher the revenue commitments, that is how they are stressing on the monetization partners, and that is how the pricing policy is being driven. Now, let's say by the perspective of enterprises, because enterprises are the one who are bleeding on this part, right? So what is your thought, Nilay, maybe what enterprises should be doing? Because AIT is directly affecting enterprises. They are the one who is paying for this artificial traffic. So what do you think that as an enterprise you should be doing for this A2P space?
So you see, Pallavi, if you just look at the Indian chapter, just to give a context to this whole discussion, I think in the last 3 years, 21 to 24 itself, I was just reading, the Indian enterprises and this entire industry overall, they lost close to $1.2 billion, right, in terms of the messaging and the kind of phishing scams that have happened. Now, also, when you look at, I think what Ali just brought up, which is the SMS pumping which is happening, right? The enterprises paying for OTP authentications and logins and all where accounts do not exist. So the start of the overall problem, if you see, is all from the account creation itself. And also, if you look at the overall frauds that have happened, almost more than 50% of the frauds point towards account takeovers. So people masquerading as somebody else and taking over those accounts. So I think in terms of what we need to do, I think it is more about self-moderation, because there are only two approaches here, right? And I think, as Vipul rightly pointed out, that we've been talking about messaging being dead and we are still alive. The same thing has happened to VAS, right? So probably 15 years back, we've been hearing VAS is dead. And if you now go to these VAS conferences, it's far from dead, It's kind of alive. But yes, what's happened is, and I think that's probably an analogy for us, is if you see the life cycle of VAS also, and just kind of map it to that, there are a lot of self-interventions that have really come in, right? So people used captures and, double consents and, third-party, AOC pages and all. So I think it's time that we kind of bring in interventions to be able to block fraud at source. Because unless and until we're able to, so why would enterprises use this as a channel, right? There are options available, right? If you look at the Central Bank of India, which is the Indian chapter we're talking about, RBI is now clearly calling out that OTP is not the preferred mode of 2FA. Right? I think that's a very that's a very open statement, right? So in fact, 2 years back, 1.5 years back, they published a white paper. They invited thoughts, ideas as to what can replace OTP as a 2FA. So the only way to kind of do this is we have to bring in efficiency, right? So if I'm spending money as an enterprise, I need to be able to optimize the spends. And this doesn't just hurt my commercial interest, it also hurts my brand. Right? So look at Twitter, right? So when Twitter, the whole chapter blew open, we heard about so many accounts which were fake, and they were defrauded of so much of SMS pumping that was happening. So I think it's a self across the MNOs, across the SMSC gateways, across the fraud anti-fraud providers and all. I think we need to collectively find a way to be able to bring back efficiency and trust into the whole setup.
True. So I think Twitter was the first mover who announces this AIT and brought that into everybody's attention.
We all knew it, right? So we all knew it. It's just that it was
Twitter only voiced it out, basically. Yeah. So, now, if we really see that technology is transforming, right, and artificial intelligence, machine learning are the talk of the town right now on the technology space. So how we can add AI into this space, and maybe how we can help A2P industry by adding AI ML layer on top of it. So John J, if you have some points on this part.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to step back a little bit, because I think the common theme we've heard is collectively we're all trust providers.
Yes.
Right? And one of the things that you also talk about is the revenue flat? Is it shrinking a little bit? It depends on who you listen to. You have to superimpose the rise of fraud. So whatever that trajectory of your revenue is, add in that fraud and see what the delta is. It's actually has a major impact. And so I think the way that we look at this from using technology is protect the consumer first. The rewards will follow. But the second part that we look at is protect the people that actually originate a lot of the traffic, the enterprises, the CPaaSs that do this. And I think if you take that angle, you sort of see where it can go. Now, I think what we have to sort of help transform is this idea of fraud. In some ways, it's a very negative experience, and it's also a cost, right, in some ways. There has to be this activity that we communicate the value, not just for a per message basis, but a trusted communication channel. And if we do that, you could pivot that into enabling other services above and beyond a trusted environment with trusted providers that allow you to sort of go beyond. So what we're seeing is beyond the individual messages, beyond the individual phone calls, you're now talking about branding some of these, communicating more context. And at the end of the day, it's not getting one message through. It's not getting one call answered. It's helping the enterprise transact with their customer. And we all, even though it's difficult for us that provide this, you have to oversimplify this to the people that use these channels. I don't think they care what channel they use, but they're going to use them all. It's voice and email and phone calls and everything else. And I think that's how we could help. And it starts in many ways with an authentication capability. Back to AI. How do you then take that AI into aspects? Well, there's already many solutions to detect fraud even before AI. We're not going to get rid of that. You got to bring that in. I think what AI gives us is new use cases it can find and an acceleration and automation of some of the stuff that we've seen. So this allows you to identify unknown patterns, velocity changes, it allows you to block certain things, but it also allows you to make things positive. Because when you block calls, there are some good and wanted calls that get blocked. If you could make sure they get through and provide a context for what the consumer wants, there's an uptick for all of us in this ecosystem.
That's true, John Jay. So, you touched upon many important points, as you said, the trust. Everybody is talking about the trust in the channel, and it's enterprise and the end users. So that communication will always be there, no matter what the channel is. But topic says how we can bring back that trust in A2P as the most secure channel, what we were thinking. Maybe Alok also can share on the artificial intelligence, how you are using it in Tech Labs or in any firewall solutions which you are providing.
Sure. So, Sina have rightly said, one thing that we always try to say and try to follow in all the technology companies is why AI? Why you want to introduce? It's a very fancy topic. Everyone wants to put it everywhere they look. But yes, there are some legacy systems already good enough. Ask yourself first, what is, as you said, first identify the delta. Is it really going to be only solved by AI or introduction of AI? And if I introduce AI, I am ready for that extra bit of cost that I will add on, and the regulation around it, the way of collecting all those data. I am not breaking any norms or so. If you have all this checkbox ticked, and the solution is really going to disrupt certain areas of market, go for it. So that's the checklist that we try to follow every time. So when I explained how we try to tackle AIT, if I give answer in the same line, if the AIT, now AIT has two parts. If the AIT is not reaching to the operator, not reaching to us, we have nothing to do. We don't know. So what as an operator and as a solution provider we can do is share our reports over API to the respective enterprises. Hey, see, this is the number of count that I received today. Maybe if it is matching yours, good. If it is not matching, something fishy is happening in between. If the message is coming to us, then yes, introduce AI, read the pattern, read the number series, pattern if you can figure out, go for it and block it. Now, if the blocking you need for very quick time, instant kind of blocking, introduce AI. If the operator and the relationship and the business case allows you to be relaxed on it, take a decision, have some manual intervention as in what the process requires, you may not need AI. So go for it like that. So that's the way we approach it.
Vipul, you wanted to say something on this part, I believe.
No, on artificial intelligence, I think you've covered most of it. There are some specific uses for artificial intelligence. One is definitely to stop phishing, which is the easiest one, to analyze the content, use the AI algorithm and stop it at whatever source, you can, to protect the consumer, because eventually the aim is to build trust. And, incidents like phishing attacks do take that away. Second, as you said, there are so many incidents. We are also in the A2P wholesale business, right? You have a small country where you see 1,000 messages a day. Suddenly you see a 500% growth on that. That is not real. It is all AIT. So, another role of AI is really to analyze the user behavior, the traffic pattern, and to see there is an abnormality. One is to detect, second is to mitigate those risks.
True.
Again, it will all go into building trust. But honestly, for A2P as an industry, security is not the only aspect. Another thing, very interesting thing, which Murthy was talking about as well on the GTS Tech Lab side, is the fact that AI can be used even as a generation of new traffic. integration of AI-enabled A2B platform into devices. I mean, as we were talking about in the earlier session, there'll be more devices everywhere. There'll be wearables. There would be connected cars, connected devices. And this is where artificial-enabled messaging platforms could play a role in creating a bigger stream of A2P messages, which could enable us, which could contribute to growth of revenue for all of us as well.
Right. So what, MNO perspective, like what are the actions to be taken to stop this AIT? Of course, one is a technology, which technology is common for everybody, right? There are so many technology players. But what is that innovation you're doing in particular technology is the key. So in terms of MNO side of it, like how do you see you can take a stand to stop this AIT? Of course, enterprises are bleeding, but from MNO side, like what you can help to this segment?
So Pallavi, from the enterprise side, like Alok also mentioned, we can sort of educate the customer as to what is happening and give them a perspective of going directly with trusted partners. And most of the times, once they do that, I think that will get sorted. In the interactions that I've had with operators, across as well, I think all of them are aligned that these kind of leakages, which happen through firewall providers who are giving them excess commitments, they will start, taking action. In fact, one of the customers I was talking to today, and not today, in this week, and they mentioned that they realized that some messages were going through grey routes.
Yeah.
And since we pointed them out, they took action against that particular aggregator. And I was surprised. I said, this is the first time I'm seeing somebody actually take action against them. Otherwise, a lot of enterprises I speak to, they're okay as long as messages go, as long as the CR is met, they're okay. They don't mind if it goes through a grey route as long as the costing is okay and fits into their budget, which I think is a wrong perspective, the way to look at it. The moment you encourage, bad elements in your system, they are at some stage going to start, biting you as well. And that's what's happening today. One more thing that, our colleagues mentioned is our commitment to our users, okay, to the subscribers that is there. Now, most of the banking frauds and all that we have seen is happening because of, OTP phishing and because of SIM swap cases. In India, we are seeing a lot of SIM swap cases happen now. At Jio, what we have done is we have now, GSMA has got standardized APIs, under the Kamara project, which detail about 30-40 APIs, which telcos in use to monetize their data points. And what we have done is we already have a silent mobile verification product that is there. Yeah. Currently, it's slightly nascent, so it's being used by non-BFSI sector for logging in, but it's a seamless experience. One, you don't have to go back and forth looking at the OTP and then trying to punch it in. Second is, because there is no OTP, there is no phishing attacks possible, right? The moment our backend, validates your IP and your number, it will give you access. We are in touch with NPCI regularly to see how we can sort of further enhance this offering to take it to the BFSI sector. Once that happens, I think probably people will see a change there as well. And, RBI also has mentioned that they're looking at alternate methods of authentication. So this is one of the methods that can be looked at. The other API that we are working on, and mobile identity, by the way, is one of the hot topics that's discussed everywhere. Everyone is talking about digital identity now. So SIM swap is an API that we're working on currently. That also, when somebody is doing a banking transaction, and, before the OTP is sent, if the bank wants to validate, if the SIM has been swapped in the last 24, 48 hours, they can trigger this API and find out that. We believe that all these use cases will really help the BFSI sector to sort of curb fraud. There's the multiple use cases. There's age on network, there's location. Now, once we enable those APIs, it is up to the enterprise how they sort of want to use that intelligence in their system, what use cases they want to build out of that. Do they want to check all transactions? Do they want to check all transactions about certain, value? Or do they want to check specific transactions where the user pattern is not in line with the normal behavior? So all those things are there, but those options are available, and now we're working on them to see how we can bring that as well. That should probably bring back a little bit of trust from the user side into the system, because frauds may come down, and hopefully that will help.
Right. So you have touched upon very important points. First is like pricing policy. As you said, like whoever is bidding highest, they takes, the exclusivity with the operator. And at the same time, even operator is looking for the higher revenue commitments. And when they are not able to meet those targets, then they start looking for.
Yeah, we're equally tempted. So you're right. That's what I mentioned. I mean, the telco is equally to blame.
Right.
Because at a time when revenues are stressed, I mean, somebody comes and tells you, I'll give you 30% extra. I think my 2 years revenue targets are done. So, it's a tempting offer, but I think at Jio, we have taken a conscious stand not to give such exclusive, partnerships, because we have no idea how they will actually generate that kind of traffic. We know for a fact that our, gray route is a certain percentage. And if you ask me, I don't think gray routes can ever become zero, right? It'll never become zero. Fraudsters will always find some way. You can obviously reduce it, you can manage it, but you can't make it zero.
True.
But if somebody gives me an exorbitant commitment saying that we'll do that, then I think that needs to be questioned. And probably from a telco perspective, we should ward off these guys.
Yeah, that is how the ecosystem we can create
Right,
a
absolutely.
balanced ecosystem
Absolutely.
for enterprise, for the MNOs, for the
Absolutely.
monetization and the firewall providers.
Yes.
The other point which you really touched upon, how the seamless communication can happen without getting affected by these frauds like banking frauds or any financial related frauds. So John Jay, maybe you can add something on this part, how people are getting affected due to these financial frauds.
Sorry, repeat that one more.
So we need seamless communication, right? The A2P is for seamless communication. But nowadays, because of rise in the frauds, there are a lot of banking frauds happening in the market. How we can combat that part?
So one of the types of fraud we've seen, so first of all, I want to go back to this idea that there's messaging fraud. A lot of the fraud we're seeing today is far more sophisticated. It first starts with a data breach. They already know that you are a customer of a bank. They have all of your information. They have your number. Then you get an email. Then you get a text. And then it says, Pallavi, did you actually withdraw this money? Click here to resolve. And so there's a lot of activity that goes on. Once you respond to that, there's sometimes a man-in-the-middle attack of a call spoof, right? So now you think you're dealing with a bank who's resolving this issue. They send you a PIN. They send a one-time password, and they say, I'm going to send this to you. Give it back to me. But actually, the bank sent that. And when you provide it, they've taken it over. Why do I tell you this? Because we can't solve these more sophisticated use cases only looking at channel by channel. You have to sort of understand where it hits, and you have to have solutions for all those aspects. Many of them are using AI to detect where it comes from. But there's a very strong need to also identify that even whether it's fraudulent or not, where did it originate and who was the provider of it? There's a really strong identity verification aspect that needs to tie it down. And I think that's where the opportunity of carrier-provided solutions. We talked about what do carriers have as an asset. That's what they have. They have direct connectivity to fundamentally every single person with a device.
True.
They know where it originates. They know the actual phone number, and they have a closed system in that aspect that many of the OTP systems don't have. Using that as a form of identification, of identity resolution across the channels, I think is where we're focused on, is helping identify that. And if you could stop it anywhere on the path, whether it be a messaging or a spoofed phone call, that's really how you solve this problem. It's a very collective approach that a channel by channel actually will not work.
That's true. That's true. In fact, I think Nilay, your company is also working more on this banking side of it or the enterprise side of it, like how you can help creating that ecosystem for the enterprise. So any recent development or new strategies you have implemented?
Sure. So Pallavi, I think what Ali and what Jonji also spoke about, I think one thing that we need to be very clear about is that when we're talking about eliminating or identifying fraud, we're not a cybersecurity organization, right? Because if you are on the cybersecurity, you can just create more and more enforcements, right? And as you create enforcements, you can probably weed out the fraud. But the bigger challenge for us as an industry is that when you're using communication as a channel, it's the most intuitive way to communicate, right? The messaging part of it. So here, the problem is that you have to balance the risk with the experience part of it, right? So the user experience is something which is the most important part of the overall, the asset that we have, and we need to balance it with risk. Now, if you look at the MNOs, right, like Vipul and Ali who are here, so, and I also come from an MNO space, so the kind of data which an MNO has is next to none, the capabilities that we have. So in fact, seamless authentication that we're talking about, right? So what we do is, so I'll give an example. There was a GSMA initiative, which was taken up some time back, where they started aggregating the MNOs at one end to be able to create some kind of an authentication hub, right? Which means an enterprise can just connect into the API of the MNO and you're able to authenticate. For some reason, it kind of fell through. But look at it this way, that why does a customer even have to enter a mobile number, right? When you're wanting to, let's say, start an account creation activity. That information is already there with the operator. We just need to create an upper layer on top of it where the innate capability of the MNO is kind of used, and you do this entire authentication, seamlessly at the back end. Because all these man-in-the-middle attacks and all these kind of phishing, spoofing attacks which happen only because you're trying to communicate on top of it, right?
So do you think this will eliminate the SMS channel altogether?
No, not really. So it'll actually add to the overall, the security and the simplicity of the overall thing, right? So in addition to what MNOs already have as an organization infiltrate, what we do, we basically bring in the trust element around the device, a device and the digital, basically. So a device trust or a digital trust score that we can create in addition to the mobile number which the operator has. I think all of these things together can actually create a much better and a seamless ecosystem.
So this is a good way of looking at it, but as we talk about SMS as most secure channel, like in current situation, do we see that the specter of fraud has dented the trust in SMS channel? Like, what could be your opinion?
See, actually, it is not only the fraud which has dented the interest in the SMS channel. It is a combination of fraud as well as the high rates which is dented the interest in the channel. And the result is what we see over the last 6 odd months, where we've seen a big uptake of WhatsApp for Business. In 2024 itself, WhatsApp for Business is expected to do $3.6 billion of business. And all this is getting out of the pie which SMS A2P had. What we need to fundamentally understand is there are inherent benefits of using SMS A2P as a channel as compared to any other channel. The open rates for SMS are 98%, which is far higher as compared to any other channel. Most of the SMS messages are opened within a few minutes of being sent, which again is a deviation from the other messaging channels. RCS would become important, especially since Apple has given their consent to being a part of that move. But it will take 4 to 5 years for that to happen. But right now, what we know is it is the most secure channel. It doesn't require internet connectivity. It is foolproof. Anybody with no knowledge of technology can work with SMS A2P, and it offers the best OTP experience that we have today. There is no pleasure on hearing a call and then trying to remember, oh, my OTP was 136457, and trying to, it is just the user friendliness of A2P which makes it so popular and which will not go away. What is needed on our side is to, again, as we've been saying, to be a part of regulations. On Orange side, we are a very active member of I3 Forum, and we actively take part in the messaging group for fraud against messaging. We are also a part of Global Leader Forum on ITW, and in that there is a work group on future of messaging which we are actively involved with, along with OTTs. But I think Ali made a very good point. While the OTTs can blame us, can blame everybody for what is happening, they are equally to blame for it.
True.
They are trying to send messages on the lowest cost possible today. They are benchmarking the conversion ratio of 2 links, one which is hacked, which has got AIT, and a legitimate route. And they're trying to tell me on my properties that your conversion ratio is not good when you're terminating it directly, because they are trying to send it 20% cheaper on a route which is generated and which will obviously have a better conversion ratio. So, I mean, if you start to be so stupid, then, you have to also blame yourself for it.
True.
So while on the MNO side, on the operator side, we can do our best. We can use AI for fraud control. We can try to be righteous on the termination cost. We can do whatever, it takes. We can be a part of multiple work group. We have regulation. But, it's a fight which is across multiple people.
True.
The enterprise and the OTTs will have to be wise in this as well and join hands with us if we really want to stop fraud and if we want to continue to use SMS A2P as a channel. And it has been demonstrated. It is the most easiest, convenient channel that we have today, and it is just for the user benefit that we need to continue to grow it.
You mentioned very rightly, Vipul, that A2P is still a secure channel. Why? Because we all people who has easy access to data, internet, especially in India, it's so cheap. I think cheapest data is in India itself. But if we look at the amount of percentage, like almost 47% subscribers are without internet. Let's say if we talk about Africa or some part of Latin America, the internet is very expensive, right? So for them, I think SMS channel is again the most reliable and secure channel for them. So,
sorry, just to add on to that, it's not only that, internet is prone to a lot of risk. Being a telco in Africa as a territory, recently we had an outage on Western Africa where 6 submarine cables were cut at the same time. There was a big landslide, it cut off practically the entire connectivity. But we have to understand, even when the internet infrastructure is lost in an area, the telco infrastructure is still functioning.
True.
So A2P will still be functioning when you will not have WhatsApp or RCS or any other internet-based communication media. And I think that's the biggest strength that A2P has today.
True. I think Alok wanted to add something.
I would like to add a point on that. If you go out and look for certain good blogs around the industry, most of them will start with saying SMS is not a very safe mode now, and so, and they will answer it like SS7, frauds and all this thing. But I must say, as an operator, as a stakeholder in the ecosystem, if you don't cross the line of, leasing out your GTs to anyone, you will make it safe. And by adding that, is WhatsApp safe totally? We saw liquor ads coming in Middle East. We see OTP messages coming on WhatsApp without brand name that can lead to a spam or anything. Same happened with RCS, and it was rolled back in India and then rolled back again with operator in between to take care of the security scene. So channel-wise, the concerns will be everywhere and every time, and very rightly said by Vipul, in adding to that, IoT, as Murthy have mentioned, that is also going to drive more value on the A2P segment or message as a segment. It can be P2P or A2P, whichever business case you shape with. But yes, in awkward scenarios of internet down or anything, SMS is your way to go.
And in fact, if you really say that OTTs like WhatsApp, now they are becoming the SMS channel and they are minting money out of it. So they are actually taking away the portion from MNO's top line and they're pulling it back towards them. If recently we saw that WhatsApp is going to charge almost 13 cents for Indonesia for the WhatsApp channel, right? So they are going through the same path what monetization player used to do, and
By the same business.
Exactly, right.
Same business drivers.
Correct. So yeah, Ali,
See,
please.
Pallavi, I wanted to add here, we all know that India is a highly regulated market, right? We have very frequent discussions with TRAI, and they are imposing a lot of penalties on telcos for messages that are going out from their network. Off late, like we mentioned, WhatsApp is a classic case. Whatever we are trying to block on SMS is all going through on WhatsApp.
It's going through WhatsApp.
So they want us to whitelist URLs. There's no whitelisting there. Besides that, we have seen that IP messaging also through handset manufacturers is happening now.
Yes.
Okay. And previously, those were happening through generic numbers. Now we are seeing cases where they are actually replicating the sender ID, which is on the DLT platform. So it goes with a operator prefix, which is JM or AM or VM or whatever, and it has the 6-digit sender ID. As a user, when I get it on my native inbox, I will not be able to differentiate. Okay, just because we are involved in that business and we want to try and figure out who's trying to bypass, we are looking at that. Otherwise, for a user, he has no clue what's happening. And we're getting all sorts of messages. We're getting stock messages. We are getting, whatever links tries blocking there. And through the COI forum, we have put in a lot of, we've shared a lot of data with TRI as well, saying that we need to sort of somehow regulate this entire segment. You can't have the messaging space where only the telcos are penalized and, where the telcos are, held responsible while the other channels just move away, right? But obviously they have their own issues because, it's not in their purview right now. So we have talking to METI as well. Hopefully we should be able to drive a common, framework which will work for everyone in the messaging space.
True. So in that case, like as I said, it's a complete ecosystem with operators, regulators to derive the regulations, enterprises, firewall providers, and the monetization partners. So we all have to come together for amicable solution for this, and we should not let SMS channel to die so soon, to be honest. So thank you for such an insightful session, Vipul, Nilay, John J, Alok, and Ali. I hope we could give some good insights to MEF as well as the audience over here. And we put together from MNO enterprise and technology perspective, our aim is to save A2P channel as a SMS channel, and it is the most secured way with or without internet. So that's the USP of this SMS. Once again, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights. And I think we have a good memento to share.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we are a little
Thank you,
behind
Pallavi.
schedule. So the Q&A session for this, we have a panelist here with us through the day, ladies and gentlemen. So you will have time. You can take up your questions with them on a one-on-one. And we have a lunch networking break too. So once again, a huge round of applause to our panelists.